Welcome into the San Francisco 49ers Report. I'm Chase Senior. Post-game show and instant reaction coming your way as San Francisco, one of only two teams in the NFL, still 4-0 heading into Week 5. San Francisco taking down the Arizona Cardinals by a final score of 35-16. And how fitting is it that San Francisco and the Philadelphia Eagles, once again on a collision course, the only two undefeated teams left going into Week 5, and it could be very well another rematch of the 2022 NFC Championship game. You look at how the Niners were able to win this matchup, and for San Francisco, they forced a 3-and-out on the first drive of the game for Arizona after the Niners deferred, and then San Francisco goes right down the field. A near 70-yard drive in which Christian McCaffrey able to find pay dirt, and Christian McCaffrey scoring that touchdown really did set the table for the rest of the game. McCaffrey had a hat trick tonight, and he broke the franchise record for the most consecutive touchdowns scored in consecutive games. 13 straight games with a touchdown for Christian McCaffrey. And I know that this game at points was somewhat close because the Arizona Cardinals, to their credit, remain tough. And the early returns of Jonathan Gannon, their head coach, taking over for Cliff Kingsbury, continued to be pretty impressive because Arizona now 1-3. They could very easily be like 2-2 or 3-1. They fight hard. They have resiliency. They have toughness. But at the end of the day, throughout the course of a 60-minute ball game, San Francisco able to just overwhelm them with their overall talent. And offensively, they were nearly flawless, led by Brock Purdy. More on him in a moment, as he finished 20 of 21, 283 yards, a touchdown, and no picks. And Christian McCaffrey obviously leading the way as well with 20 carries, a $106, 3 touchdowns, and was very good in the passing game as well. Before we continue to break this game down and really look at it from all fronts and look at the finer details of how the Niners are 4-0 here, make sure you subscribe to the channel. We continue to set records here, and we continue to really grow the channel in enormous ways on the 49ers Report. We did another watch party, closed in on nearly 100,000 views. 92,000 people are subscribed to the program. Be a part of the faithful movement. Hit that subscribe button. Now, our postgame show is presented by PrizePicks. If you're looking for the best daily fantasy option, PrizePicks is your answer, and we have the best deal that you can ever find from a DFS option. That's an up to $100 deposit match if you go to prizepicks.com/CLNS, and make sure you use the promo code CLNS for that deal to apply. Daily fantasy made easy. You pick 2+ players. You choose more or less, and it makes game day really exciting when you're able to have some money on the line. And in this game today, we were pretty good. We were off to an awesome start. I had Brandon Aiyuk more than 50.5 receiving yards. I had Javon Hargrave more than 0.25 sacks. I also went Nick Bosa more than 0.75 sacks. He did not get to that number. So 2 of 3 here. You can do 2 or more. So if I went Aiyuk and Hargrave, I would have won a lot of my money. And I thought that Bosa was going to be able to generate a pass rush to the point where he was going to be able to take down Josh Dobbs. He did not, but that's the fun of game day here. So let's go back and kind of talk about this game, because you look down at the score sheet for how this game was decided. You know, San Francisco outscores Arizona 7-0 in that first quarter, then 14-10 in that second quarter. The Cardinals come back and they actually make it a game in that third frame because they go 6 scoreless, and then San Francisco able to just punish Arizona 14 points to 0 points in that fourth quarter. And that's kind of the theme that I've been talking about all throughout this year, is that San Francisco has so much talent that they're able to really overwhelm you and overpower you throughout the course of a 60-minute ball game. And I think that Kyle Shanahan has done a great job with his play calling, with his play design. I thought that he was able to open up some really easy reads for Brock Purdy to make some easy and simplified pitch and catches. But let's give some credit to Brock Purdy here. How often do you see a quarterback at the NFL level go 20 of 21 for 283 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks, a rating of 133 or 134.6. That is a near flawless performance for Purdy. One incompletion on 20 attempts. I mean, shoot, you could drop back and have an errant throw, and Brock Purdy has another incompletion. Like, he was so good today that he went 20 of 21. And then Christian McCaffrey is obviously one of the other big stories of this football game. 20 carries, 106 yards, 3 touchdowns, all on the ground. He nearly had a quadruple because he almost got in late in this game for a 4th touchdown. And it's not just what he was able to do in the ground game, because McCaffrey added 71 yards through the air. So you're looking at McCaffrey as a player who nearly totaled 200 yards of all-purpose yards. Anybody who said that trade at the time last year was a misfire and too much of a steep cost, you're wrong, because McCaffrey has changed the complexion of this offense. He's changed the look of this offense. He's changed the dynamic of it. And ever since that he's been on the field, 13 straight games with the touchdown, and you're still averaging more than 30 points per game when he's a starter, as the Niners able to put up 35-plus points. The other note that I want to get to is the fact that Brandon Aiyuk went off subtly, because everybody kind of was focusing in on McCaffrey for the big day that he had, and Brandon Aiyuk didn't have any touchdowns, but average yards per catch, 24.7, 6 catches, 148 yards, a long of 42. I thought that Purdy did a great job of layering balls in there to that second and third level, and everybody's been criticizing Purdy for his lack of ability to throw the deep ball. We saw multiple deep balls tonight, and multiple to Brandon Aiyuk, who had that long of 42, and Purdy has been nearly automatic between 10 to 19 yards, but today he was really good at those plus 20-plus yard types of throws. And I've said this a couple of times, like if Brandon Aiyuk, Deebo Samuel, George Kittle, Brock Purdy, Christian McCaffrey are able to get to a point where they can run it, they can throw it, but they can run it and throw it at explosive levels, at all 3 levels of the field, that's when this Niners team becomes incredibly difficult to defend. And what did I say going into week 4? The Niners are the best all-around team in football. Who lost to the Buffalo Bills today? Whose offense really struggled to move the rock and put points up on the board? Miami Dolphins. Who struggled to stop the Buffalo Bills? The Miami Dolphins. The San Francisco 49ers are the best and most impressive all-around team in football. Now, the Philadelphia Eagles, to their credit, they beat the Washington Commanders, and Jake Elliott in overtime had that long field goal to give them the dub. But right now, if these two teams were to play against one another, who has the symmetry? Who has the synergy? Who's working on all cylinders right now? Where does football look easy? Football looks easy for the San Francisco 49ers right now, and they're doing that at the National Football League level, which is very, very impressive. So those are my takeaways from this game. You know, defensively, I thought the Niners played fine. I saw some people in the comment section during our watch party. They were criticizing Steve Wilks. He gave up 16 points. And for San Francisco, I didn't think they took advantage of the bad offensive line play for Arizona like they should have. Javon Hargrave had a sack. He was the only person to have a sack. 1 sack, 2 tackles for loss, and 7 quarterback hits. I would have liked to have seen a better pass rush contribution for this Niners defense, but either way, they are 4-0, and they're one of only 2 teams in the NFL that is 4-0, and they're dominant once again in all 3 phases. Brain Bishop, we start to take your questions now. Do you think that we can win the Super Bowl? For sure. You know, look, I know it's 4 games into the season, but you're looking at a Niners team that has the makings of being very special. You know, McCaffrey sets the franchise record, 13 straight games with a touchdown. Brock Purdy has 1 incompletion today on 21 attempts. Deebo Samuel, injured, doesn't even have to do anything. Brandon Aiyuk goes off for more than $1 on the receiving end. This Niners defense is really good at all 3 levels. Like, this team, I think, is the best overall team in football. If the Super Bowl were to be played right now, tonight, I think the San Francisco could beat any team in the NFL. It's all about being able to be consistent with that type of production all throughout the course of a 17-game regular season schedule and then carry that into the playoffs. Obviously, God willing, health is going to be on the Niners side. Tony, Christian McCaffrey was unstoppable today. Bring on the Cowgirls. So what I also like about this game is that San Francisco was going up against Arizona. They beat the Cowboys last week. This could not be a trap game for the Niners. And it was not a trap game. You have the Dallas Cowboys coming to town next week, Sunday Night Football. All eyes are going to be on that game. Like, we might honestly do a 2-hour pregame show for that. It might be the most viewed regular season game this year on the NFL calendar. You can't afford to look ahead at that game. And I was thinking about this all throughout this weekend, and this thought could not escape my mind. When you're a great team, when you're an elite team, you cannot afford to take opponents for granted. You cannot afford to take an opponent lightly at the NFL level. And great teams do not do that. They snatch your soul, they take your will, they beat you down, and they dominate your ass. That's what the Niners did today against Arizona, and they did not look ahead to Dallas. But now that the Cowboys are on deck, you better bet I'm going San Francisco to beat that fraudulent football team. James Gibson, which team in the AFC makes you worry the most in the Super Bowl run? Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. Now, why I'm confident in the Niners, if they were to go up against Kansas City, they have Patrick Mahomes and you have Andy Reid. But that receiving core might be the worst of the Patrick Mahomes era. So really, to lose that game, you'd have to turn the football over. Patrick Mahomes would have to extend plays improvisationally and make plays out of structure to really burn you. But the Niners are the best all-around team in football. Like, they do not have a weakness right now. And that's why Niner fans should be elated with how this football team looks through 4 weeks. And keep in mind, 2021, they started 3-5. 2022, they started 3-4. It's 4-0 right now. Things are good in the Bay. Akiva Pelta. Is it possible for Christian McCaffrey to take league MVP this year, even though it has become a quarterback award? Yes. And look, I've been talking about this the last 2 weeks. Like, Christian McCaffrey's impact on this team, on this offense, is profound. And how I usually judge and estimate an MVP award, you take that player away from a team. What would their win-loss record be? What would the look of that team be? How would they fare? You take McCaffrey off this team, I think running back is a pretty replaceable, expendable position. But McCaffrey adds so much to this team, passing-wise, running-wise. He's the most unique weapon in football right now, in my opinion. So you take him away from this team, they're simply not the same. So, look, there's not a quarterback, and correct me if I'm wrong, Chip Trace, who's really done things to just, carry the squad, put them on their shoulders, and win MVP. That's why the avenue is open and the light is at the end of the tunnel for McCaffrey to win MVP. Because I don't see a quarterback right now who's taking the straps to carry a team up to this point. 49ers win. Type LFG in the chat. San Francisco 4-0 on the season. One of 2 teams in the NFL still undefeated, joining the Philadelphia Eagles. What a time. Get those LFGs in the chat. Thanks for watching our post-game show. Make sure you subscribe.